good morning, Kelvin, Farah, and Noel. I know you just finished your class. Okay, so yesterday we have learned about input-output facilities, and I owe you guys explanations about these multiple interrupts and prioritizations lah. But before that, I need to record this meeting first lah. Yeah, so yesterday we have learned about I/O module, which is the middleman of CPU and the I/O devices. And then after that, we have learned about the three ways of technique on how the CPU and I/O devices communicated to each other or exchange the info. And then inside the three techniques, we have learned about the interrupts. One of the techniques is the interrupts. And then in the interrupts, we have learned about how compute or CPU handle multiple interrupts and prioritizations. And then yesterday I didn't explain about this on how what happened or how CPU identify which devices interrupting the current process. Okay, so these are the way on how the CPU identifying the devices that interrupting the current process that is handled by the CPU. Okay, so the first way is vectored interrupt. So this is easier way because when the devices interrupting the process that is happening in the CPU, the devices or the interrupt already have the address of the devices. Okay, so when the vectored interrupt happen to the CPU directly know which devices that is interrupting the process, and then the CPU can directly serve the devices. Okay, but for the pulse interrupt, um, the interrupt it only like a signal and it has no address about the devices. So this is the vector interrupt, but we are going to the pulled interrupt processing. So when the interrupt occur and then it use the pulled interrupt processing, it will makes the memory check first which device that is interrupting. Okay, so there will be a list of like a registers here that is registering all of the devices that connected to the computer, and then in the memory what happened here is when the pulse interrupt happen in the memory it will match first which which signal that interrupts belongs to which device. Okay, after that baru the CPU can, after they identify which device, using this general interrupt pooling routine here, using the information and process that happening here, and then baru it will proceed to serve the devices that interrupting. Okay, so jump to the cache service routine is actually the process that is should be go through by the devices that is interrupting. Okay, so that is the difference between vectored interrupt and then the pulled interrupt, which is vectored interrupt. It has the address, and then the CPU or and memory directly know which devices should be prioritized first. But for the pulled interrupt, the CPU and the memory should check first which signal that it belongs to the interrupt first, and then they will identify which devices that is interrupting, and then baru it can proceed to serve the interrupting device lah. Okay, so when there's a multiple interrupt happening, okay, for example, when the CPU is originally executing a program, but tiba-tiba suddenly there's a interrupt occur. For example, any devices, for example, keyboard lah. Okay, so when interrupt A occurs, the original program that is executing will be suspended, meaning it will be stopped temporarily. And then after that, the CPU will serve the service A or the interrupt A, and then it will wait until the interrupt A executing. But when there's another interrupt occur, it will serve the interrupt first, and then if the interrupt A still didn't finish, it will suspend. Okay, so when interrupt B interrupt, and then interrupt A is it actually is executing, and it will suspend the interrupt A, while the interrupt B will be executed by the CPU. Okay, so when there's no any other interrupt happen during executing the interrupt B, then interrupt B can be completed lah. And then after that, it will go back to the last interrupt before the interrupt B is executed, meaning interrupt A lah. Then it will continue interrupt A. Then, when interrupt A is executing by the CPU, and then suddenly interrupt C occurs, then it will, because of the interrupt A still not finished, then it will suspend the interrupt A to serve the interrupt B. And then until the interrupt C completed, after it completed, then baru the interrupt A can be continue executing and then completed if there are any other interrupt occur after that lah. Okay, so after that, after interrupt A completed, then lastly the original program will be executed by the CPU. Okay, so far understand kah? Can
Um,
understand kah?
a bit lah, can.
Okay, so that is the theory lah. Okay, so we will see the example of past year questions that is that included or involved in these multiple interrupts. So, okay, so this is the past year questions. Okay, so as you can see here, okay, so if you see here, table 2 shows a list of interrupt that has occurred consecutively, one after the other. Inclusive of the time duration of each interrupt should be handled and the time each interrupt started. So in addition, priority is assigned to each interrupt. So in here, we can see that program K has a very low priority while program B has a very high priority. Okay, so the question is, assuming that the CPU is currently executing program K at time at 10 a.m. and then construct a diagram to show how these interrupts are handled by CPU accordingly. Okay, so the other questions is what is the time of completion for interrupt C? Okay, so for this kind of questions, what you need to do is you have to list out the times started and then the end time for that process will ends lah. For example, program care it will takes about 45 minutes kan, and then you add 45 minutes to the 10 a.m. lah. Okay, so after that we can see here the others process only a few minutes like interrupts A only 8 minutes, interrupt B only 15 minutes, and then interrupt C only 10 minutes. Then all of these are not over than 45 minutes. So should be your process time only up until 10 a.m. plus 45 minutes. For it is around 11, wait um, okay, so we will see lah here. So you actually you have to list out the time that should be allocate by all of this process, and you need to add the time here. Okay, so what you can do is, okay, so this is the diagram that you can remember to follow if you find any questions similar like these questions lah later. So like here you have to list out all of the time first and then all of the interrupt so that we can draw the diagram which similar with this this diagram. Okay, so it says in the in here. Okay, so for the program care, it has a very low priority kan, and then the program care is the current executed program by the CPU. Okay, so program care started at 10 a.m. So we can start with the program care first. Program care is executing, and then at 10:20 a.m. 10:20 a.m. Ah, yeah, program A is coming, and then it only takes 8 minutes. So it should actually stop at 10:28 because program A only 8 minutes kan. And then big okay, so at 10:20 a.m. program care should be suspended because it is interrupted by program A. Okay, program care should be suspended because it is interrupted by program A. Okay, so during 10:20 a.m. until 10:28 a.m., there's no other interrupt from any other program. So program A can completed during that time. Okay, so after it completed, program care can continue executing until 11 a.m. when program B is interrupting. Okay, so it took 15 minutes. Okay, so and on 11 a.m. program care will be suspended, and then program B will be start executing. So after that, it should actually for the program B, it should finish or completed at 11:15 lah because it takes 15 minutes kan. But during the 11:05 a.m. program C interrupts, and um, but because program B is very high priority, as you can see here, it is number one. So that's why even though program C comes at 11:05 a.m., the program B is not suspended because This is the higher priority. So until the program be completed, baru the program C can interrupt. Okay, um, so this is what happening lah. So after 11:15 a.m., then the interrupt C can start. Previously, it is in queue because it needs to wait for the program B to complete it. To complete. Okay, so after that, program C will takes about 10 minutes, so it should finish on um, 11:15 plus 10 minutes, then it should be 11:25 lah. Okay, so the other question is what is the type of completion for interrupt C? So you can say that the answer is 11:25 a.m. Okay, so can understand these questions? Do you guys have any questions?
So if after interrupt C is complete, no need to write another what kind like complete program K.
Pardon, Noel? The interrupt C what?
Because the program K haven't completed yet, right? So do we need
Yeah,
to write it
yeah.
again?
No need because the questions is up until the most important thing is it only asks about this until interrupt C kan, and then this one for the program care it should up until 45 minutes kan, but uh, it is enough if you can only give until C already can enough already because we know that there are no any other interrupt will come kan other than ABC. So we know that after this the program care will continue executing until finish. But it is no wrong if you can add another row here to complete to show that the program care will complete lah.
Oh, so the question only focus on the
Only focus on what?
the interrupt.
Yeah. The interrupt. It only focus on this interrupt because there's no any other interrupts kan. Okay, so if you find any questions like this after this, then you can follow this way lah. Okay, so in the notes it didn't tell about the high priority, low priority kan, but in the questions here there's a difference a little bit from our notes because this is needs you to think lah. Okay, so if it is high priority, then it cannot be interrupted. So even though there's any interrupt that is interrupting this high priority interrupts, then it cannot be allowed. So it need to be in queue and it needs to wait the the highest priority interrupt to complete it first, baru it can start its to serve the less less priority or yeah the lesser that is yang low priority lah. Okay, so that is the main point in this questions that your questions letter may have the high and lower priority interrupts. Okay, so we have finished this lecture, so we can continue with the tutorial lah kan. Have you guys done the tutorial input output facility?
Oh no.
Pardon?
I managed to do like question one only.
Noel?
Yeah, question one only.
Noel?
Yeah, haven't start.
Oh, haven't start. See Kelvin?
Oh, didn't do.
Oh, didn't do. Oh. Okay, so because I think I want to discuss the tutorial during the tutorial time, because for the first session it should be we should discuss our tutorial tutorial kan, but since you guys didn't answer it, but I want to ask, Noel, you didn't do because you don't know or you don't have time? All of you lah, I want to ask.
I got other things.
Pardon? I cannot hear clearly.
I got other tutorials I need to do. So
You don't know what?
I got other tutorials to do, so no time lah.
Oh, okay. So Farah, also you managed to do questions one lah.
Yeah, I think questions 1 and 2A only.
So Kelvin, you also have the same reason lah. Yes, Kelvin, you don't have time.
Ah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I only give you one one night lah actually kan. Okay, so it's okay if like that. So, well, I have the answer now, and then I don't want to discuss it directly to you guys, because if you haven't do it, then that means that you didn't read that yet. So what do you guys prefer? I just give the answer and then you do the revision later, or how?
All the
uh,
answer from lecture note, isn't it?
Yeah.
let me switch the lecture note of
Pardon?
chapter 6. I think
Chap-
it's chapter 9.
the name of the chapter, don't bother about the name, the tutorial, I mean the number of the chapter or the tutorial. Just read the what the title lah. Okay, because the name of the tutorial memang ada salah-salah tuh. And actually, I already give you guys. I already posted in our Google Classroom what chapter that will be included in the FOA, because I know that you guys can see it from the syllabus. I already uploaded the syllabus also at our first week of this semester, but I don't know if you guys are aware and if you guys are referring to it, but I extracted the chapter that should be included in the FOA, and okay, so this is it. And then luckily that all of the assembly language punya the real assembly language is not will not be included in the FOA lah. Okay, so the only chapter that will be included in the final FOA is this one. So if you want, you can refer to our here the course document. Then I already uploaded the syllabus. Okay, so you can see here the examinations will assess CLO2. Okay, examination will assess CLO2, and the chapter that is included in CLO2 you can see here, which is here lah, digital logic and numeric system, numeral data representations. Okay, so the addressing data in memory and segment will be assessed in your assignment. Then all of the assembly language also in the assignment. So we are thankful that all the yang hardest part is only assessed in the assignment, which you um, almost completed already, kan? How about the, yeah, I want to ask about your assignment lah. So how about the login?
Already included.
Already what?
Included.
Oh, okay, already lah.
Want to? Do I need to present?
Oh, not yet. Don't. Oh yeah, boleh, boleh, boleh. You can show me now. Wait, I stop presenting first.
So here is a username. So
Noel, your voice is very soft. So fairer voice I can listen clearly, but your voice is soft. Okay. Now yes, okay lah. Okay, so can you speak?
Sorry,
Okay.
typing admin.
Okay.
And the password is 2345. That's the login.
Okay.
So the what they're gonna so if I press 5 to exit,
Mm-hmm.
then it come up this the prompt. Are you sure
Mm-hmm.
you want to exit? So I can press either Y or N,
Mm-hmm.
N to go back to the main menu.
Mm. Okay, so the summary, did
Summary.
you, yeah.
So since we haven't put the value yet, so all 0.
Oh, okay. So can you run one module or function? I mean, from the 1 until 4 just now. Okay, so you do one. Okay,
Do
net
3 lah.
1 until 3 lah. Yeah, because I
One
want
of
to
them.
see the summary.
Oh, so one. Type in random number lah.
Mm-mm. Negative. Okay, so
So this one the
4.
the summary.
Mm-hmm.
Eh,
Oh,
something wrong. This one.
something wrong with the calculation. It should be negative, kan? Yeah. The net income.
Actually,
Oh,
actually kan I followed the one the LHDN punya tax bracket. If like above 600,000 ringgit, then tax on
mm,
first. That
you
one.
follow LHDN tax formula.
Uh,
Hello?
this one it didn't correct.
Your voice is breaking or your voice.
No, because Maybe because it's negative, so yeah, the result also different.
Hmm. Okay. So it's
Can
okay.
you
So
can you can you tax negative income?
of course cannot lah.
Uh, maybe because that one.
So yeah, I think because of the number lah, kan yang you entered tu. So later when you do your apa tu presentations, plan the number that you want to enter lah. So something like this, so some error like this are not apa tu noticeable.
Fine. Yeah.
Okay. So this mean that your assignment is already completed lah kan?
Yeah, should be, but yeah, there's
Can
some
it?
Yeah.
I think
small
yeah.
this one I
Good.
type negative number cannot show
Only we
this.
need to check this figure lah, either it is correct or not kan?
Yeah, suppose this one positive ones.
Hmm.
Should only tax revenue, I think. You don't need to you shouldn't tax the net income.
Pardon, Calvin, we don't what?
Oh, it should only revenue only need to tax, no need to not the net income.
Hmm.
Yeah, maybe that's the problem.
Okay, so only revenue need to be taxed, not the net income. You mean only the revenue should be included in the formula lah, kan, to calculate the tax.
Yeah, the calculate tax only need to multiply the revenue.
But LHDN usually will tax the net income, kan, Noel? Because you follow LHDN, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but the
because
problem the problem is it's negative
yeah,
income.
negative, kan?
Cannot tax.
So so I changed the formula again.
Yeah.
This is the after taxation.
Hmm. Okay, so
With
okay,
negative
ngam lang
number.
ni. Yeah, if negative number, it can apa lah? Maybe you can put error handling letter. If it is negative, then it cannot be calculated, or you maybe can show some error message lah. Net income cannot be negative kah?
Oh, okay. I try.
But that is not compulsory lah, because but if you want to try, then okay juga lah.
Okay.
Okay, so good. Actually, your assignment, I didn't expect you guys to finish it before week 12. Okay, so if like that, we can focus on how you guys can answer the exam lah. Okay.
The exam all theory one.
Mm, not really lah, because I saw there's some, like I show you guys previously kan, there's some questions from chapter 1 and 2, which is including some calculation that, but it is not that very hard lah.
Is it
It can be trained.
handwritten or is
Yeah,
it
I think you can handwritten,
no, I
and
mean
then
it should I mean if is the final need to be handwritten or can we just use Google document?
um I think because if it is involve the calculation kan, like how your binary to decimal, and then it require to draw some apa tu yang square square bracket kan, it is easier for you to handwritten lah.
Can mix can just put in the picture of the
Yeah,
calculation.
yeah, boleh, yes, can, because the you can use Google Doc, and then you can screenshot or capture the calculation and then put it in the Google Doc lah. Okay, so Weta, um, I already extracted the question, some of the example of past year questions that is related to input output facilities. Okay, So I already uploaded it in our Google Classroom. So I think you guys can try to answer that because it is only 3 questions lah. Okay, so you can use this time to answer that questions, and then submit. Okay.
Sorry. Sorry.
What three question? What three question?
Wait, I show you guys. I present now first. Error has occurred when screen sharing. Okay, wait. I have uploaded. This is past year questions because since you didn't, you all of you almost all of you lah, you didn't answer the still didn't answer the tutorials, tutorial input output facilities. So you can do that later, input output facilities tutorial, which is tutorial 9. But for this time, I want you guys to try to answer. Where is it? Try to answer this one. I uploaded it in the stream, and then it has only 3 questions. Okay, so this is like easy lah, easy questions because it is only macam theory. So you guys try to answer this, and the questions or answer, I think it is in the slide. Okay, so you try to answer this using this time until 11 until until what time? Until 11 or 1:30. So if you can finish, then if you finish early, then you can leave early lah.
Okay.
Okay, so try to answer that first. If you guys don't understand, then you can ask me here. So don't leave this session lah, this Google Meet. Okay?
Okay.
I already created a node for you to submit. Okay, so you can submit the node, the answer in here lah under week 11.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
If we copy from lecture note, does it count as plagiarism?
If we copy from what?
Lecture note, does it count as plagiarism in the final?
Because in the final it will usually check from the internet lah, but from the slide, no. I mean, it will not be considered as plagiarism lah.
Okay.
But it's better if you use your own words lah. Just change some words lah. Okay, just find a similar word or synonym word for that words so that it looks different lah.
Submit already.
Pardon? I heard Samuel.
So no, submit already.
Oh, submit. Okay, so if you already submitted, then can leave the session lah, the Google Meet.
Okay, Miss, the one the tutorial.
Tutorial what? Tutorial at?
Better.
Yeah, the input output facilities.
The one discuss next week or what?
Yeah, we discuss next week. I forgot to tell Kelvin. Okay, I will announce in our WhatsApp lah. We will discuss that next week. Okay, tutorial input output facilities.